Have you ever noticed that one house on your street that always has the lights on, but you never see anyone move inside? Or the way the streetlights hum just a little too loud when you're the only car on the road? You think you're driving home. You think you're safe. But the road you're on isn't Oak Street anymore. It's a digestive tract. And you've just been swallowed. My name is Arthur, and I have been driving toward my front door for 30 years. Every time I turn the corner, the sunset gets darker, the hum gets louder, and the man in the yellow windbreaker gets closer. It started on a Tuesday. The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in a bruised shade of violet and orange, the kind of sunset that feels like a final goodbye. I was driving home, just minutes away from my wife and a warm dinner. But as I turned into my cul-de-sac, the road didn't end. It stretched. The pavement became smoother, the asphalt darker, and the streetlights flickered to life with a low, buzzing hum that sounded like a million angry bees trapped in a glass jar. I looked at my speedometer. I was doing 40, but the houses were crawling past me. I looked at the lawns. They were perfect. Too perfect. Every blade of grass was exactly the same height, a vibrant, neon green that looked like it had been spray-painted onto the earth. There were no weeds. No stray leaves. No children's toys left on the sidewalk. Just a row of identical white picket fences that seemed to vibrate under the yellow glow of the lamps. I tried to pull over, but my car wouldn't stop. The brakes felt like they were made of sponge. I looked in my rearview mirror and gasped. My face was changing. In the reflection of the glass, I saw my brown hair turn silver in seconds. Deep lines began to carve themselves into my forehead, like cracks in a drying riverbed. My skin grew thin and translucent, revealing the blue map of my veins underneath. I was aging 10 years for every mile I drove. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the hum of the streetlights. Finally, the car sputtered and died in front of house 704. My house. Or at least, it looked like my house. I stumbled out of the driver's seat, my knees popping with the sudden weight of an 80-year-old body. The air tasted like plastic and ozone. I reached for the front door, but as my hand touched the wood, I realized it wasn't wood at all. It was cold. It was hard. It felt like polished bone. I pushed the door open. The interior was silent. I walked into the living room, expecting to see my family, but the room was a nightmare of geometry. The sofa was there, but it was made of solid, unpainted oak. The television was a hollow shell with a mirror for a screen. And the windows. I ran to the curtains and pulled them back, desperate for a glimpse of the sky. But there was no glass. Behind the curtains was a painting of a window, a static image of the same purple sunset I had seen outside. I wasn't in a house. I was in a model. A replica built by something that had seen a human home once but didn't understand what it was for. That's when I heard the heavy, rhythmic thud from the front lawn. Thump. 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 I looked through the peephole of the front door. Standing in the center of the lawn was the neighborhood watch. He was 10 feet tall, a spindly figure draped in a bright, oversized yellow windbreaker that flapped in a wind I couldn't feel. He had no neck. In the place where a head should be, there was a massive, industrial-grade security camera. It rotated with a mechanical whir, its glass lens catching the light like a predator's eye. A thin red laser beam shot out from the camera, scanning the grass, the porch, and finally, the door. I ducked just as the red light sliced through the wood like a hot wire through butter. "Arthur," a voice boomed, but it didn't come from the figure. It came from the smoke detectors in the ceiling. "You are in violation of the aesthetic code. Unauthorized aging is a Tier 1 infraction. Please step onto the lawn for immediate pruning." I ran to the kitchen, looking for a back door, but the kitchen was a facade. The cabinets were glued shut. The sink had no pipes. I was trapped in a three-dimensional blueprint. I looked at a flyer on the counter. It was a neighborhood watch notice. It had my face on it, my young face, the way I looked 30 years ago. Underneath, in massive, bold black letters, it said, "Missing, return to soil." I realized then that I wasn't the first Arthur to enter this cul-de-sac. I looked out the side window and saw the backyard. It wasn't a garden. It was a gallery. Dozens of stone statues stood in rows, all of them frozen in positions of pure terror. They weren't made of stone. They were people. People who had been caught by the red beam. People who had been pruned into permanent lawn ornaments. The front door groaned as the neighborhood watch figure began to push its way inside. Its long, multi-jointed arms reached through the gap, the fingers ending in sharp, silver shears. "The grass must be kept even, Arthur," the smoke detector hissed. "The neighborhood must be perfect." I scrambled into the crawlspace under the stairs, my old bones aching with every movement. I found a loose board and pulled it back, hoping for a basement, but there was only a vertical drop into a void of wires and humming machinery. The entire neighborhood was floating in a dark, empty space, a tiny island of fake suburbia in a sea of nothingness. I heard the shears snip the air just inches from my hiding spot. Snip. 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 I looked down at my wrist. My watch had stopped, the hands frozen at 6 p.m. The time I was supposed to be home for dinner. I understood now that I would never have dinner again. I would never see my wife's face. I was just a component in a giant, broken machine that was trying to simulate a life I had already lost. The neighborhood watch figure pulled back the stairs, the red laser beam finding my eyes. I felt a sudden, crushing coldness in my chest. My skin began to harden. My breath turned to dust in my lungs. I looked out at the street one last time before my neck turned to stone. Another car was turning the corner. A blue sedan, just like mine. I watched through the stone slits of my eyes as a young man looked out the window with a confused expression. He was checking his watch. He was turning into the sunset. "Keep off the grass," I tried to scream, but the words were only a silent vibration in the rock of my throat. "Welcome to the Sunset Cul-de-Sac. We hope you enjoy your stay. After all, you're going to be here a very, very long time. If you can still feel your heart beating, if you can still see the sun move across the sky, then you are the lucky one. Don't let the hum of the streetlights pull you in. Like and subscribe to the Silent Hallway to stay updated on Arthur's journey through the loop. And whatever you do, don't look at the neighborhood watch. Check the comments below.